Hello there. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to scale a drawing, and I'm going to show you how to do that using two different methods. Between both methods you should know everything you need to know about scaling a drawing. So here we have a floor plan, and if I zoom in here and have a look at some of the dimensions between the grid lines, we've got 5,920 millimeters, 4,335 millimeters. So standard enough grid intervals, but this particular floor plan has been generated from a PDF image, so we have no real control over what scale that comes in at when we import it as a PDF. So what we want to do is we want to scale it so that when we measure something on a drawing, it actually measures those dimensions. So I want to show you something here. I'm just going to put a dimension on here, and I'm going to change my dimension styles for a second because I've had a look at this drawing already, and I know that it's quite a large drawing. So I'm just going to change the size of my text to something like 2,000 units. Now I know that's quite large, but we'll just bear with me for a moment and you'll see why. So I'm just going to go OK to that. Now what I want to do is have a look on here. According to the PDF, the grid interval between T1 and T2 should be 5 meters 920. Now if I just try putting a linear dimension on there, what I'm getting is actually 466,000. So it's way off. I mean, that's a huge difference between those two. So obviously when you bring it in as a PDF, you know, you're going to find these little issues somewhere along the line. So I'm going to show you how to fix that now. What I've done is I've drawn a horizontal line, this red line here, between T1 and T10. Just drawn that as a line between the two extreme left and right hand sides. I've also used my calculator, I've added up those dimensions that are written on there, and it comes to 39,500. So up here what I've done is I've just drawn a line, and if I take a dimension on that, that line is 39,500. So essentially what I have is I have a red line up there which is the correct length, overall length of the building, and what I have here is a red line here which represents the same extremities, but obviously at a much different scale. So I'm just going to show you how to scale using the numbers first of all. Okay, so the keyboard entry for this is the letters SC, and then press enter. Now have a look at your command line. It says select the objects. I'm just going to draw a line over the bit that I'm interested in. I'm being careful here now. I'm not drawing my box over that little red line up there. I'm just drawing it over the image. Pressing enter because I'm finished selecting objects. Look down here now. It says specify the base point. Doesn't really matter at this stage, the base point, but I'm going to select the bottom of the bubble for T1 by doing a left click. Now you see it says specify scale factor. So if I want to make my image smaller, I have to use a decimal point. So I'm going to type in 0.01. Effectively, that's going to shrink that image down to 1% of what it currently is. So when you type in 0.01 and press enter, you get the same drawing, but everything has been shrunk down. Now I'm going to change my dimension styles at this stage. I needed to make it overly large so that you could see those numbers, but I'm going to change that now. So I'm going to click on that and delete it. And I'm just going to go up here to my dimensions, and I'm going to modify my style, and instead of having a 2,000 unit text height, I'm going to put in something like 500. It'll make it a little bit easier to see. So if I do a linear dimension now from T1 over to the right hand side at T10, my drawing now is 31,100 units. It's close to what I need, and if what I might do is I might move that up a little bit closer to the reference line that I've drawn. So M and enter, select that and enter, scrolling out a little bit here, and I'm just going to move it up a little bit closer so I can see the two things on the screen together. So what I have up here is the reference line which has drawn the correct length. from T1 to T10, and what we have down here is just a scaled by number version of what we had a few moments ago. So I just took a guess. I guessed the 0.01 scale, and it's not quite right. It's close to right, but it's not quite right. What I might do is actually move that a bit closer again, because it'd be better to have them closer up like that. Okay, so here we have it now. That's a little bit better. So this red line represents the overall length of the building that we want, and it has a corresponding red line drawn down here from T1 to T0. So the second method of scaling is by reference. The first method I showed you was by typing in the 0.01. The second method is by referencing. So up here this would be called a reference line. So I'll show you this. I might do it twice just so you can see the keystrokes involved, because it's important to get them in the correct order. So again, to start off, the scale command, S, C and enter. The command line is saying select the object, so you can just draw a selection box over the bit you're interested in and then press enter. Specify the base point. This time I'm going to select the end of the red line up here. That's my base point. Now, what we did the last time was we typed in a number. Down here it says specify the scale factor. We typed in 0.01. This time, however, I want to scale by reference. So you can either do a left click on the word reference there, or you can press the letter R on your keyboard and press enter. Now it's saying specify the reference length. So what you need to do is specify the length you want to alter. So do a click on the left hand edge of that red line, all the way over here, and do a click on the right hand edge of it. You can see it kind of goes grey now. And now on your command line it says specify a new length or do it by points. So I'm going to do it by points. If I click on the word points there, what I need to do now is come up to the line and do a left click on the left hand side of it and do a left click on the right hand side of it, and you can probably see what's happened on the bottom of the screen there now. The red line that I used as my control reference line down here has expanded, it has grown, and it's now 39,500 units long. So it's matching what we have up here. I'm just going to undo that last step so that you can see me doing it again, okay? So here we have the drawing. It's not exactly right, the overall dimension, but it's close because we scaled it by a factor of 0.01 already. So here's how we scale using reference again. S, C and enter. Select the part of the drawing you're interested in and press enter. Specify a base point. I'm going to click the left hand edge of that red line. I'm now going to specify the scale factor using reference, so click on the word reference. You have to select the reference line first, so left click on the left hand edge of that red line, left click on the right hand edge of that red line, then come down to your command line and select points, so click, then left click on the line that's the right length, and left click on the other end of it, and the red line, everything that was selected down here has been resized to match that line. Now, how you can double check that this has worked absolutely correctly is very simple. Come down here. We know from the PDF that the distance between T1 and T2 should be 5,920. Well, if we do a linear dimension now, well, it's not exactly right. I might have actually just possibly snapped onto something a little bit odd back there, but it's certainly, you know, within an order of tolerance, I would imagine. 519.8 millimeters is as close as you're going to get to 5,920. It's off by 0.17 of a millimeter, which is probably something you're not going to be able to measure on site anyhow. We'll just try one more. I'll maybe just be a little bit more careful about what I snap onto here. Again, we've got 4334.5 instead of 4335. Okay, so we're off by about a half a millimeter there. I'm not entirely sure why it's off by that half a millimeter. It should be absolutely more precise than that. But having said that, we're far closer to having it the right way, the right dimensions at this stage. I'll just try one more at random just to see what we're coming up with. This one here is meant to be 1085. So if I check from there, make sure my object snaps are set for intersections. And I've got 1083.6. Okay, so again I'm off by about 1.4 of a millimeter. Perhaps if I had turned my dimension style to show no decimal places, it might actually improve that. So if I go up here to my dimension styles and modify them and have a look for the precision and change that to no decimal places and go OK and close, and if I just delete that dimension for a second and try putting it back in, so we've got 1084 instead of 1085. I really don't think you're going to get any better than that with scaling a PDF. Remember, this is not a drawing that was generated within AutoCAD itself. It was brought in, imported as a PDF. So I mean, you know, you're going to find a millimeter or so here and there, which is going to be outside of what you would expect. But for most cases, that's going to be close enough and acceptable. And certainly if you're in any doubt about whether those dimensions are acceptably close or not, you would need to speak to your client, check with the engineer, check with the architect. Certainly it's worth asking the question. Or, you know, if that's going to be a problem, maybe the architect or the engineer could supply you with the DWG instead of having to use a PDF in the first place. So coming from a PDF, this is probably the best you're going to get. So I'll just do one more here as a quick check. Okay, so we're off by 2 millimeters there. Now I would argue that the overall length being correct is more important than a millimeter or two in between. But that's a question to check with the architect or with the client.